Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a Shop My Stash. I love doing these every once in a while. I hope you guys enjoy them as well. I am going to be doing a Valentine's Day inspired makeup look, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm pretty sure I've shown this before, but in case I haven't, this is where I currently keep all of my makeup. So let's start off with this first top drawer right here. I haven't been using primers a ton lately, but I do want to use something more hydrating because my skin feels a little bit tight today. So let's look for something more on the hydrating side and not necessarily like blurring or mattifying. Let's go ahead and try this one. I haven't actually used this one yet. This is from a Profusion advent calendar. This is the Peanuts by Profusion Snow Much Fun Illuminating Face Primer. I'm gonna go ahead and try this one out today. I also want to use one of these liquid filters, but I'm gonna skip out on the e.l.f. ones because I do use them pretty consistently. Maybe the one from Charlotte Tilbury, which I'm still trying to use up. I have a tiny bit left. I think I'm about right here. So maybe this one, but I also haven't used the one from r.e.m in a while. So actually, I'm gonna choose this one. For foundation, I'm gonna pick something from this container over here. These are all of my skin tints, and even though some of them do have quite a bit of coverage, I kind of want to just stick to an actual foundation today since I'm going to be going more glam. So maybe this one from Hourglass. This is the Ambient Soft Glow Foundation, which I haven't used in such a long time, and I used to really love this one. My skin has been going through some changes lately, so a lot of my foundations look very drying on me. So maybe I'll go with this one, but I also haven't used the About Face one in a while. This is the About Face The Performer Skin Focus Foundation, which does have a little bit less coverage than the Hourglass, at least from what I can remember. So I'm kind of torn right now. Do I want to use the About Face one, which I do have to mix a couple of shades. I have 3 of these. Yeah, let's just go ahead and use this one. I do keep my drugstore concealers in this container, and then these are my high-end ones. I kind of want to go high-end today. So let's go with the Kosas. I actually forget what this is called, even though I used to use it all the time. I think it's the Kosas Revealer Concealer. This shade 4 is too deep for me, so I'm going to go with shade number 3. For setting powder, I'm going to be skipping out on the Makeup by Mario one and the Huda Beauty one because I use them all the time. Same with the e.l.f. one. So for my under eyes, this one from Essence, this is the Brighten Up Banana Powder. And then for an all over setting powder, I think I'm gonna go with one of the Wet n Wild ones. These are both technically the same powder. This one is from the Peanuts and Wet n Wild collection from a couple of years ago, but let's go with this. For bronzer, I'm gonna pick out a cream or liquid one first, and then I'll also pick a powder one. Let's go with the Nars bronzing cream. This has been a long time favorite, but for some reason, I just haven't used it in forever. Okay, let's take this one. This is the McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Divine Bronzer in the shade Bronze Dawn. So I'm gonna take this just in case I want some sort of powder bronzer at the end. Sometimes I do. And then for blush, I'm also going to pick out a cream or liquid one. Let's go with one of these Rare Beauty ones, which I haven't used in forever. Okay, this shade is super pretty. This is a really tiny sample of the shade Encourage, which is a movie shade. So maybe this one. I'm also going to pick out a powder blush. Maybe something glowy to go over top of the Rare Beauty one. This is always super difficult for me because I love so many of these. But let's go with this blush palette actually. These are not glowy blushes, but this is super cute. This is the Conchita blush palette. This has some really fun blush shades. This purple right here is so pretty. So I might end up using that one, I guess depending on what kind of eyeshadow look I do. So I'm gonna take this. I'm also gonna grab a powder highlighter. Even if I don't end up using it, I want something just in case. Okay, maybe this one from Colourpop. This is from the Avatar The Last Airbender collection. And this is in the shade Moon Peach. This is a really pretty peachy pink shade. It's super pretty and reflective. So this one it is. I want to do something pink or purple today, or even just a combination of both of them. So I might end up picking out 2 palettes. I do like this one from Colourpop. This is the Frosty the Snowman palette, but this one leans more blue. It is a really pretty palette. I do like this color story, but it's not really what I'm going for today. Maybe this one from Anastasia. This is the Norvina palette, which I haven't used in honestly well over a year. but this one has some really pretty shimmers. I love this purple one especially, and then this matte one is so unique, so maybe I'll grab the Norvina palette, and I'm thinking that one is gonna go really well with this one from Huda Beauty. This is the Mercury Retrograde palette. Yeah, these two color stories look so pretty together, so I'm gonna grab both of these. This is where I keep all of my eyeliners and lip liners. So these are the eyeliners, and then these are high-end lip liners, and these are drugstore. I'm gonna grab two just in case one of them doesn't look right with the eyeshadow look. So I'm gonna take Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in the shade Anywhere Caffeine, and this one from Fred Beauty, the Makeup Club Nude Muse Lip Liner in the shade 3. And for eyeliner, I'm gonna pick one till I'm done with the eyeshadow look, but I'll probably end up picking one of the pink or purple shades. I do want to go with a gloss today. I really need to do a lip product declutter because this thing is packed to the brim, and then same with my lipsticks. They barely fit in here anymore, so I'm gonna have to do that very soon. But let's pick out a gloss. I think I'm gonna go with one of the Fenty Beauty gloss bombs. I have a bunch of the mini ones, so let's go with the shade Fussy. The packaging is super messed up now because I used to use it constantly and I used to keep it in my purse. For setting spray, I'm gonna go with the Urban Decay All Nighter. I'm gonna grab my Rare Beauty brow pencil, my Too Faced brow wig, which I don't love, but I am trying to use this one up, and I am gonna go with my Rare Beauty Perfect Strokes mascara. So here is all the makeup that I picked out. Let's go ahead and do a Valentine's Day makeup look. I put on some under eye masks. These are the r.e.m. Beauty Wicked under eye masks, and these are really cooling and hydrating. Unfortunately, I only have one more pair left in the fridge, and I'm pretty sure they're not available anymore. They were limited edition. So I am gonna prime my lids with the Rare Beauty Eyeshadow Primer. I'm trying to use up this eyeshadow primer because I'm pretty sure I've had it for over 4 years. It's one of my favorite eyeshadow primers, but it's technically expired, but it still works great. I'm gonna use both of these palettes. I feel like they're gonna complement each other really nicely. I'm gonna take the shade Base from the Norvina palette, and I am gonna set the eyeshadow primer with that. So applying it from the brow bone down to the crease. I don't think I've used this shade all that much, but I do like that it's a little bit brightening. I'm gonna dip into the shade Libra from the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. So I'm blending that into the crease. That is a really pretty light purple shade. It translates a little bit more pinky on my skin tone, but in the pan it looks more like a light cool tone purple. Dipping back into the Norvina palette, I'm gonna go in with the shade Soul, and this one is definitely a cool tone purple shade, so hopefully it does show up cool toned on me. I'm gonna press that onto the outer corner. Okay, it's not really showing up all that well, and it doesn't really look purple. This palette is a little bit older, so I don't know if that's why it's not showing up the way it looks in the pan. And I don't think it's completely matte. Yeah, it seems to be more of a satin. I thought it was matte, so I might have to add something else over top, but I'm just gonna do the same thing to the other eye. It's still a pretty shade though. I think especially once I build it up, it does look more true to color. I honestly have no idea where I'm going with this look. I wanna just use a few shades from each palette, and I'm gonna blend a little bit of that into the crease. I was trying to keep it on the outer corner, but I think it's gonna look better in the crease as well. Using that same brush, I'm gonna take the shade Hot Mess from the Mercury Retrograde palette, and I'm gonna press that over that purple shade. And then dragging a little bit of that into the crease. I'm gonna take the shade Vortex on a smaller brush, and this one is a super deep plummy shade. So placing that right on the outer corner. I like that this shade is still looking plummy and it doesn't just turn into an almost black shade, which some shades like this can do that. Taking a little bit more of the shade Libra, I'm gonna reapply that in the crease. Yeah, this shade looks straight up pink on me. It does not look purple at all. Okay, time for some shimmer. I'm going to take the shade Celestial from the Norvina palette, and I'm going to apply that onto the center of my lid. That is a really pretty purple, and I'm actually going to bring it into the inner part of the lid. I'm going to take my fluffy blending brush and blend out the crease. And then I'm going to top it with the shade Cosmic. So placing that right over top. This shade is more like a topper. So not exactly the kind of look that I was envisioning, but I think I made it work. So I'm going to take off the under eye masks. I'm going to prime my skin with the Peanuts by Profusion Snow Much Fun Illuminating Face Primer, which I've never used before. This one came in an advent calendar. I'm pretty sure this is a permanent primer already, but this one is a limited edition version. My skin has been feeling a little bit tight lately, so even though I don't usually use illuminating primers, I want to give this one a try. Hopefully it's not too glowy. It does feel like a serum so far. That feels really moisturizing so far, and I don't see any shimmer in it, so I am liking that. Yeah, it looks a little bit glowy, but I don't feel like it looks like too much on my skin, and it doesn't feel super tacky. It's just a little bit moisturizing, so hopefully that works well under the foundation that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the About Face The Performer foundation. I was liking this one last year, but it started looking a little bit dry and cakey on me. I want to say sometime in the summer, so I just stopped using it. My skin is going through a bit of a change. It's been more dry and flaky, so I've been having to switch up my skincare routine, but hopefully this primer will help. So that was the shade LM2 Olive. It's a little bit deep on me right now, so I am going to mix in the shade LM1 Warm. So I'm going to do a few swipes of that as well. I think this one has light coverage. I do think it looks better than I remember, but I don't know if it's because of the illuminating primer. I do see it peeking through. I feel like I'm looking extra glowy right now, so maybe that primer is glowier than I thought, but yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I will say though, the foundation is emphasizing some dry patches, but I don't think it looks too bad. So I'm gonna take my sponge and see if that helps for it to look a little better. So that does look a lot better. It did take off a little bit of coverage on my cheeks, but I don't really mind. I like the overall look of it. But let's go ahead and apply some concealer next. This is the Kosas concealer. I forget the exact name of it, but this one is in the shade 3. I used to love this one, but it started looking really cakey on my under eyes, and it also looked really drying. But it's been a while since I used it, so I want to see how I feel about it now. I'm also going to apply some on my cheeks because I did lose some coverage there. It's not like a terrible shade match, but it is a little bit too yellow. So blending that out with my brush. That has a lot more coverage than I remember. I don't think I've used this one since sometime last year, and I think it's technically expired. I think I've had it for a few years now. I think it looks pretty good on my under eyes, but the only thing that's throwing me off is how yellow this shade is. I didn't think it used to look too yellow, but I think my preferences have changed. For bronzer, I'm going to use the Nars bronzing cream in the shade Laguna 02 Original. And this has been a long-time favorite for me. I just haven't used it in a little while because I keep using some other newer ones in my collection. So here is what this shade looks like. This bronzing cream is super easy to use. It's super blendable. I'm going to apply that with the e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush. I really need to use this one more often. It just blends so effortlessly. And taking my Beauty Blender, I'm just patting over the edges of the bronzer. For blush, I'm going to apply the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in the shade Encourage. And this is a pinky mauve shade. I'm going to apply this one to the back of my hand first because these are super pigmented. And look at how pretty that shade is. I went ahead and swatched it. It's just like the perfect mauvey pink shade. So applying that onto my cheeks. And I'm starting off with a tiny, tiny bit first. That is such a pretty mauve shade. I have used it a few times, but not as often as my other Rare Beauty blushes. I'm going to set my under eyes with this Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. This is one of my favorite under eye setting powders. I like that it's slightly yellow toned, but it doesn't look like a straight up yellow under eye powder. It's very subtle. I'm also going to set my T-zone with that. And then to set the rest of my face, I'm going to take this Wet n Wild setting powder from the Peanuts collection. This collection came out a couple of years ago, I think. I don't see much of a difference between this one and their original translucent setting powder, but I think this one is just slightly less mattifying. That's like the only thing that I've noticed. So setting the rest of my face with that. For brows, I'm going to use the Rare Beauty Brow Harmony Precision Pencil in the shade Cool Brown. And then I'm going to set them with the Too Faced Brow Wig in the shade Espresso. I don't love this brow gel because it is very messy. I do wish the wand were a little bit smaller, but I do like the way it leaves my brows because it does give them a fluffy look, and it does have little fibers in it, which I do think helps. So I'm just trying to use this one up before I throw it out. I'm going to finish up the eyeshadow look. So for my lower lash line, I'm going to take the shade Hot Mess from the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. So I'm just going to press that along my lower lash line. And then I'm going to smudge it out with the shade Libra. I'm also going to take the shade Vortex and placing that right on the outer edge and bringing it in halfway. I want to add a pop of color to the inner part of the lower lash line. So I'm going to take the shade Ultraviolet. So pressing that on with a pencil brush. And I'll bring it onto my inner corner as well. For the inner corner, I do want something brighter. So I'm going to take this Colourpop Super Shock highlighter. This is from the Avatar: The Last Airbender collection. And this highlighter is so pretty. It's one of my favorites. But this is a super pretty pinky peach. So I'm going to use this for my inner corner. I love the way that looks over top of that purple shimmer. I am going to take some of this Pat McGrath powder bronzer. This is in the shade Bronze Dawn. This isn't completely matte. It does look satin on the skin, but this is one of my favorite powder bronzers. I'm also going to add some powder blush, so I'm going to use the Conchita blush palette, and this has some really fun bright blushes. I think they're all matte. Yeah, they look matte in the pan, but this is just a really fun blush palette. I think I'm going to use the purple one. This one is called Cuerno. These aren't super pigmented, which I actually appreciate. It just gives me more control that way, so I do like that these are more so buildable, especially since these are brighter colors. And this shade doesn't look super purple on me. It ends up looking more like a pink blush, but that is so pretty. This formula is really nice and buildable, very easy to work with, and it always looks really smooth on my cheeks. This is such a cute blush palette. I highly recommend it. Even though they are quite bright shades, they're not intimidating at all. These are very easy to work with. I like that they're not super pigmented. And I didn't even say what brand this is, but this is Metamorphosis, which is an indie makeup brand. I'm gonna apply the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. I'm gonna apply the Rare Beauty Perfect Strokes Mascara. I applied some of the Colourpop Cream Gel Liner in the shade Amethyst Hour in my waterline, and then to tightline I used the NYX Epic Wear Liner Stick in the shade Berry Goth. I'm also going to apply some of that highlighter. And then for lip liner, I know I chose two, so I'm trying to decide which one to use. I'm thinking maybe Anywhere Caffeine. Actually, that might be a little bit too brown for this look. I think I'm actually going to use the Freck Beauty one. I swatched it right next to Anywhere Caffeine. And then I'm going to top it with the Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy. Okay, I ended up wiping off that Fenty Gloss Bomb because it just looked too peachy for this look. So I'm just going to use my Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Gloss in the shade George. Yeah, that is a lot better. I think the undertone of this lip gloss fits the eyeshadow look better. All right, so here is the completed makeup look. This look turned out a lot more purple than I was expecting. I was planning on doing more of a pink and purple look, like combining both colors, but it turned out to be a pretty much purple eyeshadow look, which I do like. I actually like how it turned out. The only thing that I used today that I'm not really sure about is the Illuminating Face Primer from Profusion. I feel like this is just a little bit too illuminating for me. It looks super glowy, so I don't really reach for primers like this. I might end up decluttering it. I feel like somebody else will enjoy this, but it's not bad. It's just not my personal preference. But other than that, I really enjoyed all the makeup that I used today. I love shopping my stash. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys are doing for Valentine's Day if you plan on celebrating it. I am gonna go to the movies with my husband. We're gonna watch Heart Eyes, which is a new slasher film. I hope it's good. I've heard pretty good things about it. So I hope you guys have a good day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.